Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. What do we got today, Rick?
We got our Week 12 starts and sits.
Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Here's your host, Morgan Colby and Rick Lemon.
Bro,
What's up, dude?
I use these headphones every time, and I put them in a weird position that's comfortable.
Yeah.
And I just moved them, and I heard so much more. It kind of messed me up mentally. I was kind of scared. I was like, wow, I could hear way more than I thought I could. Because I was wearing the headphones wrong.
Dude, it's a little stuff in life, man.
It's like when I play Call of Duty and I wear my headset the wrong way.
It messes up your whole game.
It really does.
That's the reason you go 5-44, right?
The world didn't need to know that.
To be honest, to be fair, I've never actually I have I played Call of Duty with you?
No,
Call of Duty
I don't
with your
believe
brother.
so. You gotta play Call of Duty with me.
Okay, so I don't actually know if you went 5-44.
I suck.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I suck. I'll play for
I can tell 'cause you didn't deny it when I said you were
I'll play with my friends for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
3-4 days a week, and all of a sudden I'll be doing really good. I'll be getting 21-7 games.
But if you don't play all the time.
And then I don't play, and then I play again, and I'm 7-20, 5-27.
That's how it
how did I
goes.
get that bad? What happened? I used to be good at this game. Actually, I never was good at this game. My cousin, he rocks it. He gets 30 kills every game. That's an issue.
That's just natural gamer or too much time on his hands.
Either or.
Yeah.
It could be. Welcome to the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Morgan Colby. I got Rick Lemon with me. No, this is not a podcast about video games.
No,
In case you were,
even though I could do that.
you're did I click on the wrong podcast, or should I X out? Because I came here for fantasy football advice. If you're listening on Thanksgiving, congratulations. You made it all the way through this year to Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And it's not an easy thing to do.
Especially when you're dealing with COVID-19.
Yeah, that's true.
So happy Thanksgiving from the Fantasy Champions to your dinner table.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Just
It's
as
really
you sit
good
down with your
football.
family and you think about all the things you're thankful for, just put the phone on the table, open the podcast app, hit play, just blare it out loud. Tell all your friends about the Fantasy Champions, and then be thankful that we have a podcast that we can give advice to you for.
Yes. That's what you should be thinking about on Thanksgiving.
But just remember to blare it in front of everyone in your household. And then they'll be like, what are these morons talking about? So anyway, happy Thanksgiving. What is your favorite thing about Thanksgiving, Ricardo?
Geez, my favorite thing or my favorite food? What do you want to do?
I'd just say one of the one favorite thing you have on
Is it bad to say I love just enjoying? Okay, first of all, it is family. I like spending time with my family.
Okay, you're gonna
especially
go
family that I
there.
haven't seen.
Okay, all right.
But
I
also
should
watching
probably
football.
say that if my wife listens.
I honestly, my uncle, my uncles, my cousins,
Multiple.
I'll sit on the couch and just watch football all day with them. And they talk to me about some of them play fantasy. We just have a good time.
Now that's when you name drop our podcast.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, I would have to say football.
It sounds shallow, but
I eat so much food and I love food, but man, sitting there and yelling at the television when your playoff hopes are on the line, nothing beats it. And I have Hawkinson, so I'm just gonna be screaming my head off for Hawk this week. The one
you
guy.
should have a good game. I mean, it's against the Houston Texans, but
They're gonna target him
lines, you just
2
can't
times
trust
and
those
get
lines.
shafted. We get shafted by the Detroit Lions. So it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think football. Any traditions?
Well, a lot of the stuff is out the window this year because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's more just basic stuff like, all the traditional food. We always just watch football. Like, there's nothing we do crazy. Sometimes we'll go Black Friday shopping at midnight, like me and my cousins, but not doing that this year. What about you? Do you do anything crazy?
No. Well, no.
Yeah, just normal Thanksgiving. That's great, though. That is the tradition.
It works. Some people go to that crazy parade.
Do you watch the Macy's Day Parade?
That is a tradition, but I think everyone does.
I used to. I don't anymore.
Yeah, my wife loves parades.
Yeah, my family all will watch it. I watch it sometimes, but other times I'm just like, I'm just gonna go to sleep. Or I'm just gonna play video games.
You woke me up at 9 o'clock to watch a parade. I'm going back to bed. You know what it is for some people? The dog show. They love the dog show.
Oh, the dog show's great.
It's
I'm a big dog show guy.
So there's like a small window for the dog show though, because you got the parade ends at like noontime.
The dog
from
show
noon to 12:30.
Yeah, you got a half hour of the dog show.
You got a half hour of the dog show, and you're sitting there just waiting for football, so you kind of peel your eyes off and wait. Like, here we go.
I'm tempted to start a player that I own tomorrow in the Lions Houston
just to watch him play,
just so I can watch. It just gives me an excuse.
Is it Duke Johnson?
Yeah, it's either or Marvin Jones. I can start him in my flex.
Yeah. Oh, you start both.
Kenny Galladay's out.
What do you got to lose? Start both.
Man, that's very tempting.
That's not advice, by the way. Don't do that. So welcome on into the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. Today, obviously, Week 12 starts and sits, as we said, the intro. Before we jump into our starts and sits, please check out our website at thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter at the FFChamps, on Instagram at thefantasychampions. You can like us facebook.com/thefantasychampions. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any other major podcasting platform, be sure to leave a review, share this podcast with your friends, but also subscribe. Subscribing is the best way to support our podcast as it currently stands, I should say, not states, as it currently stands. Maybe someday you'll be able to financially support us. Hopefully. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. 1,000, Rick's hair gets shaved off at the Super Bowl. Click the bell for notifications, like and comment down below. Any questions you have for starts and sits, we'll get to them as many as we can. Sometimes I miss some. I don't even know how. It's not like there's a million of them. But leave your questions in the comments. So let's start off with our start of the week, which is a Derek Carr. Now, last week, I'll tell you a little anecdotal story before I get started. I was going to start Teddy Bridgewater last week, Teddy B. Got all the way to Sunday, and I was getting notifications. I checked out Roto World, and they were like, "Oh, they're saying he might play it." I'm like, "Okay, all right, here we go." I'll just wasted $20 of waiver budget on him. So I was gonna go with Teddy B, and then they said he was out 90 minutes before game time, so I had to pivot. I was like, "I gotta get a guy.
Yep,
I gotta get a good guy," and I ended up picking up Derek Carr, and I vomited a little in my mouth, and then he scored 25 fantasy points, or maybe really 23. Good. In normal leagues, but anyway, he had a decent week. This week he is going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, it is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta so far this year are the easiest matchup for quarterbacks in fantasy football. 26 points a game to the quarterback position. So I mean, if that means anything, Derek Carr becomes a fan-freaking-tastic start this week. Against Atlanta. The only thing that concerns me is I don't know if Derek Carr can do back-to-back good weeks. That is a complete that's not even like an analytical like, oh my god, I spent years coming up with an analytical approach to determine whether Derek Carr was going to have good back-to-back. That is just a gut feeling.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of really good games this year, back-to-back. He had like 3 straight weeks of good games, 22, 27, and 22 in weeks, weeks 4, 5, and 7.
Yeah, those are inflated stats, though, because it's our 5-point touchdown league. But
oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry. Forgive me.
25, and 20. So that's.
But anyway, against Atlanta, it's probably a safe bet that he will probably have a good week.
Yeah, no, I mean, Atlanta has been atrocious on defense this year, getting up a lot of fantasy points to quarterbacks. And Derek Carr has had a sneaky good year.
Yeah.
He had a little bit of some struggling in the last few weeks, but this week against Kansas City, he bounced back with 22 fantasy points. And against Atlanta, I think He should be very efficient against them. I don't think he's going to get like 30 points because he's just not the type of quarterback to throw the ball. I mean, he did throw the ball 44 times once this year.
Yeah.
So maybe it's possible, but I don't really see him throwing lately. He hasn't been throwing the ball a ton. I don't I think he's the type of guy that in John Gruden's offense, what they want to do if they have control in the game is to run the ball. So I think he's probably only going to throw the ball around 30 times, but he can still be very efficient against Atlanta. I think he'll get 20-plus fantasy points somewhere in like that 20 to 25 range and have a really good week. He's been having a very underrated season. He has 19 touchdowns and 3 interceptions on the year. So he's been sneaky good all year.
Yeah, just one of those old school quarterbacks that doesn't put up a lot of fantasy points.
No, he doesn't. Because he doesn't run.
That's
he actually has run more this year, though, than he did last year, but still doesn't run.
Still doesn't. It's like 2 times a game, maybe. At best.
Yeah. He has like 100 rushing yards on the season and 0 touchdowns.
Frick.
Was it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he's going to score 3 touchdowns, so 20 is probably a safe bet.
Yeah.
Against divisional matchups, obviously, that's a little bit different, but anyway. Yeah, Derek Carr start. Our sit of the week at quarterback is Ryan Tannehill. I feel like Tannehill has fallen off a cliff since.
Yeah, he hasn't fallen off a cliff, but do you want to know what his matchups have been the last few weeks?
Spill the beans.
He had Pittsburgh, then Cincinnati, which he played decent in. Then he had Chicago, the Colts, and Baltimore. And now he's got the Colts again.
Jeez.
So it's like he's had an incredibly difficult schedule. So that's probably why.
Yeah. He once again, the end of the season's not that bad for him. He's got Cleveland, Jacksonville, Detroit in the final week of the season and the postseason, and then he's got Green Bay in Week 16, which is not ideal. But he does have, like last week, he had 24 points against Baltimore. He does have decent games sometimes against tougher matchups, but it is a little bit more. Indianapolis, I'll just say this, has been, I think the third hardest opponent this year. Yeah, third hardest opponent this year for quarterbacks, 15 fantasy points a game to the quarterback position, which is that's abysmal.
Right.
And I mean, generally speaking, you have to look at his averages, which I would say is about, what you want to say, like 22 a game, 22, 23 points per game.
Yep, something in that range, yeah.
So,
20, 21, 22.
in reality, he's going to underperform that 23 points a game. So he'll probably be somewhere around 18 or 19, which is still an okay week. But the last time he played Indianapolis, he had 11 points.
Yeah, and 10 in a 4-point touchdown league, which is just not great.
5 point, you mean?
What is it?
You mean 5 point? Or 10 and a, never mind. Sorry, forget I said anything. I'm an idiot.
I was like, what?
Yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, the Colts defense is very good. And it's not Tannehill's fault. Like, he has actually, been playing decent considering the defense he's playing, but he just hasn't been able to have those big fantasy games because of it. And it's going to continue this week against a Colts team that has been very good against quarterbacks all season long. As you said, last time he played the Colts, he only had 10 fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'll get more than that, but I don't really see him getting a big week. I don't think he'll get 20 plus. I think he's probably going to get like 16, 17 fantasy points and have an okay week, but just not good enough to start in your week. Like you have a better chance this week to just stream a guy on a good matchup and try to get 20, 25 points.
Yeah. I love Tannehill though.
I know. His schedule is great end of the season. After this
the thing that makes me angry is that some of these guys like Tannehill, they have great end of season schedules, except for, the most important week of the season.
Yeah, the championship game.
So like a Josh Allen, traded him away for Justin Herbert. Tell us in the comments, is that a good trade? I don't know. Rick thinks it's a good trade, which I'm going to take that as justification that it is.
I mean, it's risky for sure, but I'm a big Herbert guy, so.
Fantasy Pros ECR has it at Herbert's 4 and Allen is 6 rest of the season.
There you go.
So that says it's right, but
you still doubt it.
I do. It's the name. It's the name Josh Allen.
Yeah, but Justin Herbert's gonna be a name.
Yeah, that's so true. I was thinking about it. I'm like, so who's gonna be like last year? Lamar Jackson as the league winner, and this year I was thinking that it was gonna be Kyler. But if you just queue up Kyler's schedule rest of season, you're gonna think like, oh wow, that's. And hopefully he's matchup proof for a lot of those games.
Oh yeah, jeez.
His schedule is tough end of season, but Herbert has been playing out of his mind, and he has an easy schedule end of season. So it's like, can he? Maybe that's what we'll talk about after the trade shows are done. We'll just talk about postseason.
Yeah,
how to prepare. But anyway, yeah. So Tannehill, sit. Let's move on to the next guy. We're running out of time, so we got to move a little bit more. I don't even know the word I'm trying to do.
Wanted to say faster.
Faster, thank you. Precipitously. That's what I was going for. I don't even know if that's a word for that. Precipitously. Sounds like it's raining.
Trying to act smart.
Like it's raining fast. Precipitously. Yeah. That's going to be the last time I say big words on the podcast.
Yeah, just retire that whole thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about our start of the week at running back, Jonathan Taylor against the Tennessee Titans. Now, one would think Tennessee's a tough matchup. I would think that Tennessee's defense hasn't been as good this year as they were last year. They've given up the 5th most fantasy points to the running back position this year. They've given up 21 fantasy points a game. Now, you were telling me something just a second ago about how Frank Reich is a complete moron, but I'll let you say that in a second. He looked. Go look up some film studies of this week for Jonathan Taylor. He looked a lot better in this game. He was hitting like I watched him for 5 to 6 weeks while I had him on my team, and he was kind of disappointing, I guess, in a major way. And like when you watched him run, it looked like he didn't know what holes to hit, if that makes sense. So his vision didn't look that great, and it looked like he was like just barely like by a second missing the open hole to run for 35 yards. So I think in that offensive line opens up those holes like massive during games. So, but he was just missing those opportunities. This week he looked like he was hitting those opportunities. He said the game slowed down for him. I believe it. So maybe they give him 22 carries again. Maybe they don't. But it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize Jonathan Taylor going forward.
Yeah, it is. I've heard some mixed things about that though, which is concerning. But at this point, if you own Jonathan Taylor, you probably don't have a ton of options at running back. I mean, unless you do. If you own Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor, then obviously, don't worry about it. But chances are you have him. You have him because he's your RB2 or RB3. So you're probably gonna have to try to start him anyway, unless you're trying to look at other options on the waiver wire or anything. But I would trust Jonathan Taylor at this point, and just go down with the ship if it goes down.
No, it's true.
But I do think he, as you said, there's reasons to trust him. He looked a lot better this past week. He said the game slowed down for him and all that stuff. It was against Green Bay, but Tennessee also has struggled against the run this year. Mm-hmm. Now, last time they played them, though, he did struggle a lot, but that was the Naheem Hines game. So if he starts off as the starter and is able to take advantage of his opportunity early, he's going to have a good week. So I would give it a chance. I would start Jonathan Taylor this week against Tennessee. I think he's in line for I'm not going to say a big week, but I think he's very
if he gets the opportunity, he's going to have a good week.
Yeah, exactly.
And the schedule going forward for Jonathan Taylor is easy, so don't be surprised to see him on this list multiple times.
Right.
But anyway, sit of the week at running back. You kind of disagree with this a little bit just because of opportunity, but it's Gus Edwards at Pittsburgh. I know a lot of people picked up Gus Edwards to start this week, especially with Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins going down with the COVID. So I think the issue with Gus Edwards is that he's the third running back on their team. Whether they play him, like a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, no, he's been opportunity-wise the second. I'm like, I get it. I'm talking about talent-wise. On most teams, he would be like the third guy. So
Dude, have you seen him play?
Yeah, no, he's good. I just don't. I don't think.
I think he's better than Mark Ingram at this point in his career.
Yeah.
At this point in their career,
you might be right, but I'm just thinking like, I just don't know that he's going to be able to come out against Pittsburgh, get that full workload, and be like, oh my god, I'm going to have a really great week. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to say, because Pittsburgh has been, I think, the second best. I'm not sure. Hold on. Yeah, they've been the second best. 14 fantasy points a game to the running back position as a total. I don't know if they're going to get Justice Hill or any of the other running backs they have involved in the offense. No idea. Couldn't tell you. But I think, you can make the assumption that Gus Edwards is going to get a majority of the work, but against Pittsburgh, it's not worth the risk to me. Like, I understand that he could have a good game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this is going to be a game where Lamar's going to have to use his legs and his arm. And I don't think there's going to be a lot for Gus Edwards, to be honest with you.
Sure.
So this could be a really good game for Gus Edwards, or it could be a very, very, very bad game. And I think if you're a man of percentages and odds, I would take Gus Edwards having a really, really, really bad game this week.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think there's, on paper, it doesn't look good for Gus. I will say, though, if Ingram and Dobbins are definitely out, which I think they are, and he gets like 20 plus touches, I think he should have a good game. Last time he played the Steelers, he did have 16 or 14 fantasy points on 16 carries for 87 yards and touchdown.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think is underrated that he might get if Dobbins and Ingram is out, he might be. I mean, Justice Hill will probably be involved in the passing game a lot too, but Gus can still get like 3-4 targets as well.
Yeah,
and get like 3 catches and 2 or 3 catches and just add on to his fantasy point totals a little bit.
Right.
I don't think he will have a monster game against the Steelers though, and if you definitely have better options, I would start those options. But I do think he has potential to have a really big week.
Yeah, I like I said, potential's there, but if you're percentage, if you're playing percentages, then it would probably be. It's not this week.
Sure.
But it's difficult because Gus is if you had Ingram, so say Gus and J.K. Dobbins got COVID and it was just Ingram, would you feel good about Ingram starting this week?
If it was just Ingram?
Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, probably not. I wouldn't feel great, but I'd feel okay.
Gus and Mark Ingram for me are on the same, like you were saying a second ago, they were kind of on the same level.
Sure.
So to me, like, I wouldn't start Ingram, and I definitely wouldn't start Edwards. You know what I mean? Right. So Dobbins, I told you before the show, Dobbins might be a different story. But I even at that, I'm not sure I would even start Dobbins either. But anyway, let's move on. Start of the sit of the week at wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk / Debo Sam. I'm sorry. Well, we'll talk about it anyway. I meant to go to wide receiver start of the week, but anyway, we'll start with the wide receiver sit. Brandon Ayuk or Debo Samuel at Los Angeles. Now this depends on if Debo comes back. We can just say both of them because I don't know that I would start either one of them against Los Angeles.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I own Ayuk, and I'm starting other players this week.
Ayuk has been getting a big target share, and with Debo coming back, I don't know that target share is going to stay. And Debo he's going to get a target share as well, 8-9 targets. Ayuk's probably going to get 8-9 targets if they both play, and that's good. But the problem is are they going to be efficient with those targets, and are they going to be able to make plays with those? I have a hard time believing against Los Angeles that, with Aaron Donald in the middle of that field.
Yep. Jalen Ramsey on the outside.
And you have, who's the starting quarterback? Nick Mullins?
Yep.
It's gonna collapse all over. Like, it's not gonna work. So I really, really believe that Ayuk and Debo Samuel just, like, don't play him. I know you're gonna want to, especially if you've been waiting for Debo. You're like, oh god, I need.
It's not.
I'm in a 3 wide receiver league, man, and I've been starting waiver wire wide receivers in my 3rd wide receiver slot all season.
Yeah.
All season. I would love for Debo to come back and be my 3rd wide receiver, but as of right now, I'm not going to start him. if he plays. I'll go with the waiver wire one more week.
Yep.
So I'm concerned about both of them. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey's on the other side. So, and he's not been shadowing one receiver. He's been whoever comes to his side of the field is getting covered.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm not excited about either one of these guys this week.
Yeah, no, I 100% am not. I own both these guys in a lot of leagues I'm in. And I'm not starting. I don't think I'm starting either of them in any single league I'm in. It's just not a week that I want to play these guys against the Rams, who probably have one of the best, if not the best, secondary in the league, and they have Aaron Darnold rushing the passer. And against the 49ers team that has struggled on offense this year already, it's just going to be a disaster for them, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about wide receiver Sterling Shepard against Cincinnati. Sterling came in and he had a couple of good games. I'm sorry, I just saw a report that Zach Ertz might play this week. That's good.
Yeah,
news.
I saw that too.
But anyway, Sterling Shepard, he had a couple of good weeks, 14-11, and then in the last 2 weeks he kind of struggled going into the bye week.
Still got targets though.
He still got targets. He was getting 8, 10, 8, and 6 over the course of that time. And so against Cincinnati, he does have an easy end of the season schedule here against Cincinnati, Seattle, Arizona, and Cleveland before he plays Baltimore in the championship. So I would be comfortable starting him this week against Cincinnati. Cincinnati has given up a lot of fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Generally speaking, if they can keep themselves in the game, my only concern is that Daniel Jones just completely torches the Bengals. And and Sterling Shepard has a really good week, and then they're up by like 20, and Cincinnati just like gives up. Because the big situation is obviously Joe Burrow's not in. So if Joe Burrow was there, it'd be a little bit more competitive, making it so that the Giants would have to throw the football more often.
No, it is the Giants, so I think it could be competitive either way.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. It's funny. The best part is about the Giants is that they're totally in contention for the division.
I think if they win this week, they probably will be leading the division. Because I don't think any other team in that division is going to get a dub this week.
I don't know if any of our audience listens to BDGE. Over at BDGE with Nick Ercolano, they have a big guy, Snacks, or maybe it's Animal. I can't remember. One of them he's massive Giants fan. I predicted the Giants would go 10-6 this year or 11-5, and they make the playoffs and make a run for it. But one part of that might be right.
I mean, 5-11 will probably win that division this year.
God, that's so bad.
6-10, maybe.
That's so bad. I feel bad for teams who actually are good and aren't going to make the playoffs.
I know. Like a 10-6 team won't make the playoffs, but a 6-10 team might. That's kind of.
I've thought about in fantasy football, like adding a division aspect. Like if you have divisions in your league, then you have the top 3 divisions. If a 12-team league, your top 3 in each division makes the playoffs.
Yep.
But then
that's
what
I thought it was.
Yeah, no, that's not how it works. So, But anyway, if I can make it like that if we wanted to, but doing that, you end up in situations like these where a team maybe like your whole division on the other side just complete trash.
Yep.
So it's kind of funny. But anyway, I would start Sterling Shepard this week.
Yeah, me too. Cincinnati just hasn't been great. Shepard's been sneaky good with targets, especially. Like he's been Daniel Jones's favorite guy. I mean, that 8-10, 8-6 number that you brought up for his targets in the past few weeks, that's a good number. And, he's got a floor as well.
Yeah.
He's played some tough teams, and he's still been getting those targets, and like 8 fantasy points as a floor is pretty good. So I think this week against Cincinnati and coming off a bye week as well, I think we could see him getting like 15 fantasy points this week.
So let's slam these last 2 positions here.
Yeah.
Wow, what was that sound, bro?
I just dropped the penny.
Why do you have a penny?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, all right. Tight end start of the week, Austin Hooper against Jacksonville. I haven't even looked at Hoop's numbers, to be honest with you. For a
it's
while.
Not good.
Wow, okay. That makes me a little nervous.
But hey, they haven't really been throwing the ball a lot. And I think Hooper got 5 targets this week, which, considering how many times they've been throwing the ball, is not that bad. Yeah, he threw the ball 22 times, and 5 of them went to Austin Hooper. So if they throw the ball more this week in a game that's not going to be as bad weather, hopefully, as the last 2 weeks, Just a little bit, because they're going to run the ball mostly anyway. But if he throws the ball maybe like 25, 26 times this week, Hooper can probably get 6-7 targets. And for a tight end, that's pretty solid, especially if you can get one of those red zone.
I'll take the targets any day at the tight end position. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You can't kind of control it. But the tight end position is just abysmal this year. If you don't have Travis Kelce, you're just kind of floating along.
Yeah. Dude, don't diss on the Hawk or Darren Waller.
I love both of them, but are they wide receiver 3 overall?
No, not even close.
So, yeah, I mean, we told you in the offseason, stay away from Austin Hooper this year in the draft. If you wasted an 8th round pick on him, should have listened to our podcast. But, Austin Hooper, I mean, you're right. Target share is definitely, I guess, the major caveat, not caveat, but major aspect of tight end. You know what I mean? Some of them get targeted a ton and then they don't do anything with it. Others get targeted like 3 times, like Jared Cook, and score like 2 touchdowns on those 3 targets.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So Austin Hooper could go out this week, catch a touchdown, and call it a day. And that's what you would get out of it. I think against Jacksonville, it's a good matchup. And like you said, the weather gets better. Final guy that we're going to talk about on this episode of the Fantasy Champions Fantasy Football Podcast, name drop, is Noah Fant.
Yep, and he's been struggling last few weeks. Drew Lock just hasn't.
I mean, compared to what the position is doing, he's been great.
He's averaging like 6 points a game. So I guess. But yeah, he's still getting targets, but against the Saints and the way that Drew Lock has been playing, I'm just kind of been fading Noah Fant, at least for the rest of the season. At Dynasty, I think he's still got a chance. Next year, he could still have a chance, but just for the rest of this year, I've been really fading him. So if you have better options out there, I'd definitely say Noah Fant.
Yeah, I would agree. It's so funny. New Orleans, so far this year, let me see. Interesting. Yeah, they're mediocre. They give up about 8 points a game to the tight end position. So I don't think the Denver Broncos are going to target him that much. But it's not a hard matchup. It's just not a great matchup overall. So I would agree. Sit him this week. This is the week he gets like 20 points. Because why not? He started off so good, 16 and 15 the first 2 games, and we were like, wow, nailed it.
Yep, and then
overtime. Yeah. So that'll do it for our starts and sits. If you have starts or sits questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. Down below. And enjoy your Thanksgiving. It's been an interesting, fun ride so far this year. So be sure to check out our website, thefantasychampions.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And we will talk to you tomorrow. One final show this week.
Later.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Champions Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and follow us on Twitter @TheFFChamps.